What's up, sneaker people? It's your boy FB Kicks and Gear, and I am back with another video. And this time, as you can see, we are doing another legit checking guide on the Travis Scott Jordan 1 Low Reverse Mocha. Now we are getting back to our roots. If you guys have been following me since my last two channels, you guys know that the Travis Scott Jordan 1 Low is my staple when it comes to legit checking. I've probably done more videos on these reverse mochas and the fragments than any other video, any other shoe that I've done so far. Maybe the only other shoe that I've done more than these is the Travis Scott Jordan 1 High OG. But when it comes to legit checking, I personally like legit checking the lows better, because there's more little things that you can look at that really summarize legit checking in general, right? Because when you look at both of these shoes, they look exactly the same, right? To the untrained eye, they look exactly the same. And there are people that go the rep route, and that's completely fine. I got no issue with that. There are people that go that route that will look at both of these and see no differences. And personally, I don't want to live in a world where that's the case. I want, if I'm getting a rep, it should be a rep. It should look good. It should look great. But if I want to buy an authentic pair, I should be able to buy an authentic pair and be able to differentiate between the two. And in this case, you can. For these shoes specifically, other shoes, sometimes it's a little bit harder, but these shoes you can. They are legit checkable. Even though the reps are 99% there, they are still legit checkable, and I'm going to give you guys some easy tips to be able to differentiate the real versus the fake. So I'm skipping the box this time. I've done the box so many different times. You're not going to be able to legit check on the box in pictures anyway, because it's mostly coloring. Today we are just going to focus on the shoes because I don't want to talk about the boxes. So but before we actually get into the real versus fake, I want to say that just like in every video, you will be able to see detailed pictures of the rep on the Instagram account that's going to pop up here, so that you guys can see every angle. You can see all the details that I point out, so that you have reference guides, so that when you are legit checking or when you are buying your shoes, you know exactly what you want to see and what you want to look for. So keep that in mind. Instagram account on here, Shoe Pop. You'll be able to see all the pictures and do your own research from there. So first thing that we like to do when we are legit checking these Travis Scott Jordan 1 lows, we like to look at the shape. And specifically when we talk about the shape, we're talking about the toe box. We want to see a not slim toe box, but also not a thick toe box. You want to see it in the middle there, but most importantly, there's two things that you want to see. You want to see that there's a bulge when you look at it from the side, and you want to see that the leather does not creep up too high onto the top of the toe box, because that is something that reps tend to do that retails don't. They stop right at the front of the toe box, and you can see that that's what happens here. So, and you can see that on the other pair too. You see that shape, you see the bulge. I like to call it a belly on the front of the toe box. You can see it from both sides, and you pay attention to where that leather stops at the top. So when you take a look at the rep pair, you definitely see the bulge for sure. They got the shape down as far as the shape of the toe box. Not too thick, not too thin. It's got the bulging belly, but you see the issue when you look at where the leather stops on the top of the toe. And as you can see, it actually starts to wrap around the top of the toe box. That is not something the authentic pair does. It stops, but the rep tends to wrap onto the top. I don't know if you guys can really see that, but that's what the reps tend to do, and you can really see it here. It's like almost as if instead of being a border, the toe box material, the leather wrapping around, sits on top of the toe box, and that's not what you want to see. So a really easy thing to point to. The next thing that we're going to talk about is we are going to talk about coloring. First, we'll start with the suede, and then we'll go to the other things. So there's always going to be slight differences in coloring when it comes to nubuck material. I said suede earlier, but this is not suede, this is nubuck. So and you can see that the authentic pair is a little bit ashier, it's a little bit drier in color, while the rep is a little bit darker, still pretty ashy per se, but just ashy in a different way. It's a bit darker of a color. So take a look at that, and you can get when it comes to shape, you can get a top-down view of the toe box shapes. The toe box on the rep is just a little bit wider than on the authentic pair. But when it comes to color, the real things that I like to pay attention to, or the most important things I like to pay attention to, are the color of the reverse swoosh, the color of the outsole, midsole, and the color of the white leather. So when you put them next to each other, you can see the differences. And I don't know how well it comes up on camera for you guys, but usually it comes out pretty well when I put everything together. But so generally what the case is, and you have rep reverse swooshes always tend to be lighter and more pale than the authentic reverse swoosh, and that's apparent here. And when you go to the midsole, you see that the midsole on the rep pair is a fleshier, more vibrant color than the pale, muted outsole of the authentic pair. So it's like a reverse. The reverse swoosh is pale, and the midsole is fleshy and a little bit too dark. And on the authentic pair, the reverse swoosh is darker and the midsole is paler. So think about that contrast, and you can see what they look like side by side. But when it comes to the white leather, you can see that the white leather on the authentic pair is brighter. It's a brighter white, almost as if the rep pair has almost like a gray undertone to it, a warm gray undertone, I should say, because it's almost like an off-white if you look at them side by side. You know, just very slight differences that you can hone in on when you're talking about legit checking these. So but yeah, so that's pretty much it when it comes to color. I pay attention to the white leather. If you don't have an authentic pair to look at, pull out your brightest white Jordan 1, and you should be able to do that legit check. If these come out feeling darker than the authentic pair, then your authentic pair of Jordan 1s that are a bright white, then you know that you're probably dealing with a replica. The next thing that I want to look at specifically is the positioning of the Cactus Jack on the inside here. For sizes 7 to 12, I want to see some interaction with the stitch and the C of the Cactus Jack, as you see here. So this is good, this is what you want to see. And it's the same thing for here. As you get to bigger sizes and the panels get larger, like in a size 13, 14, 15, this line will start to be above the Cactus Jack, and all the Cactus Jack will start to fall below it. So but for these sizes, you want to see some engagement with the C. Color wise, this is a little bit more brighter of a red, and the authentic pair is a little bit more muted, if that makes sense. But positioning, this is good. This is what you would expect to see in varying degrees for a size like this. On the bottom, you can see there's also a difference in color: warmer brown, chocolatey brown on the rep, more of a mocha brown on the authentic pair. Next thing that we're going to pay attention to is the tongue tag trick. And if you are unfamiliar with that, please watch any of my other Travis Scott Jordan 1 low videos. I go into pretty great detail about what it is and what it means, but the cliff notes are, when you are dealing with a size under 13, you want to see minimal gap between this and the Nike Air tag and the Cactus Jack tag. And now, when I say gap, I don't mean this. This is acceptable, right? When I say gap, I mean something like this, right? Or larger, even larger than this. While this is an example shoe that I use a lot, the gap trick essentially means that you want to see the corner of this tag stitched very close to this, to the point where you don't see, or you almost see none of this stitching across the tongue. So as you can see, there is a bit of a gap here, but when you pay attention to the corner of this tag in proximity to this, almost no gap. And that's the same case for here. When you get to larger sizes, size 13, 14, 15, you will see a gap, and that's pretty common. And you will start to see varying spacing when you start climbing up the sizes from like size 9 up to 11 up to 12, but your gaps will generally look like this or this, paying attention to where this corner is in proximity to this, right? The body might show a gap here. You might see that this isn't perfectly aligned with this, but pay attention to where that corner is, because you will see that on all authentic Travis Scott Jordan 1s, regardless of the release. Now that I broke that down, I said I wasn't going to break it down in the video, but I did anyway. So when you go to the reps, you definitely seeing a bigger gap than what you would like to see on an authentic pair. You even see the stitch there peeking through. I would like to see this, if you're talking about authenticating, I would like to see this much closer. I would like to see this corner at least a few millimeters away from this. So same for the other shoe. But that's really what I mean by proximity. And most of the time, your effort should be spent on the left shoe, right in the video, but on the left shoe. There seems to be, for whatever reason, variation on the right shoe, but for this release, seems to be pretty consistent. This shoe is where you should be paying attention to the gap, and yeah, that's the gap trick. And unfortunately, these fail that gap trick. A lot of people would say that it's not a huge deal. I agree, it's not, but it's something that can be used to authenticate. So from there, let's take a look at the Blacklight test. So when you are looking at the authentic pair, the only things that are going to light up are the tags and the sole, and you'll be able to see some paint correction marks on the sole itself. So you look at the tag, lights up just like you would expect. You go around the sole and you will see some paint correction like there on the heel. That's pretty much it for that shoe. And for the other shoe, some paint correction on the front toe and on the side and on the back. A lot on the back for my authentic shoe here. So we should expect to see the same exact thing on the reps. Maybe no paint correction. Sometimes they use it, sometimes they don't, but the tags definitely should light up, and this does. Sole lights up, no paint correction. That lights up. No paint correction on the soles either. So that's the Blacklight test. The last thing that I like to do is I'll do the sole squeeze test, firm and solid on the authentic pair. Same goes for the rep pair too. So there are reps that will completely cave in on you, and that is normal. Some reps don't, like these, but it's kind of all over the place when it comes to reps, and it's not all batches, but some do. So always check that. If you feel like your sole is collapsing on you, you're dealing with a rep. So with all that said, guys, that's the comparison. It really doesn't have to get much grittier than that. I love this shoe. I love doing this legit checking guide, and stay tuned for more. Remember, Shoe Pop's Instagram will pop up, and you will be able to see all the detailed photos that you need to be able to do your research for this shoe. So with all that said, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.